What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another War Within video. Hope you're all doing very, very well. We're going to cover Holy Paladin today. We're going to look at the two hero talent trees that you can choose. You got Lightsmith or Herald of the Sun. Those are your two options as a Holy Pally. As always, I'm going to go through the talents and then I'm going to show you a little bit of gameplay. It's much harder to show gameplay with healers because the healing dummies here are just like, they don't work very well. And especially for Holy Paladin, which requires you to like be in combat with an enemy to really produce a lot of healing, it's kind of very difficult to try and show you anything that way. So it's mostly going to be just me talking about the talents, but I will show you some stuff. I've tried to queue for dungeons to get some footage and it just takes hours and hours of my life and I don't get anywhere with it. So we're just gonna do it this way. It's fine. TLDR, both of these trees are good. They're both good. I think they both actually support a potential like Avenging Crusader build. We'll talk about that in a minute. But they're both good. Lightsmith is a little bit more defensive, I would say, just in the nature of what the Holy Armaments are doing. And Herald of the Sun is a little bit more offensive because of the way you can control your Dawn Lights. And when you get to pick and choose when and who you want to put your Dawn Lights onto and when you want to do it. And whereas Lightsmith is always going to have this offense/defense combo where you're putting shields on people and you're giving out weapons, but you still are always going to get that shielding part of it. Whereas I think with Herald of the Sun, you could choose to go pure offense or pure defense or mix it up a little bit. So let's jump through both of them and I'll explain it as we go. Lightsmith gives you a brand new ability called Holy Armaments, okay? The light will coalesce, become a Holy Armament wielded by your target. So you're going to click on like an ally and you're going to give them a Holy Armament, okay? So, for example, I'm clicking on myself right now. I'm going to press Shift 4, and boom, I gave myself a shield. This shield stacks up over time. You can see it's stacking right now. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I only have 612,000 health right now. This is a 183k shield, and it will keep refreshing over and over again until this thing times out, which is just absolutely outrageous. Once it does time out, I will get Infusion of Light. That's a talent over here. Okay. So you get a shield or you get a sword and it's going to alternate. So let me do it again. I'll press it again. This time I've got the weapon. Spells and abilities have a chance to deal an additional almost 10,000 holy damage or healing. So again, the sacred weapon will either produce damage or healing, and then the bulwark will always produce a shield. So it's a little bit more defensive, I would say, in nature, but it can still give your allies a bunch of damage, which is really, really cool. You're basically just handing out, you're like a vending machine. You're just going to be handing out these armaments. Now, let's go through the rest of the talents here. Solidarity. If you bestow an armament on an ally, you get it. If you do it on yourself, somebody else gets it nearby. So you get double. You get double your money, essentially. Every time you give out an armament, you get another one. And that's actually really powerful. So if you think about this shield, again, my max HP right now is 612k. That shield got up to almost 200k. That's almost 30% of my health in one of these things. And it just keeps refreshing. If I took damage, it would refresh after a couple seconds and keep giving me even more. So these shields are massive. And the weapon damage is good. I don't know how good it's going to be in the long run. We'll have to see how often it actually procs, all that stuff. But when you give one, you're going to get another one. If you give it to yourself, you're going to give it to somebody else again. Okay. Your spells and abilities have a chance to create an holy armament at a nearby ally. That's cool. The proc rate on this doesn't seem super high right now. I would say on average, it's about once every 30 to 40 seconds that you're getting another one of these for free. That's not bad at all by any means. It's just that is the proc rate, I would say. Or you can just get straight cooldown reduction on the armaments, the actual ability themselves. That takes it from a 1 minute cooldown to a 48-second cooldown. So you can do it that way if you want. Keep going down the middle. Valiant's Consuming Shining Light or Infusion of Light. That's our proc, Infusion of Light. Reduces the cooldown of Holy Armaments by 3 seconds. So this to me actually supports more of the caster playstyle where you're spending a lot more GCDs pressing like Holy Light. You're going to get a ton of infusion procs with this build, okay? Because of laying down arms and because you just get infusion procs anyway. When an armament fades, you get an Infusion of Light proc for free. And then, of course, as I just said, if you consume that Infusion of Light, you reduce the armament. So the armaments get summoned and then they die. They give you a proc. You spend that proc and it reduces the cooldown and you can keep the cycle going, which is really, really cool. Now, we don't consume as many infusion of light procs in the melee build, because judgment can consume an infusion of light proc, and then it puts that extra greater judgment on an enemy and it blocks a certain amount of damage. But you're gonna build up more infusion procs than you can actually spend just with your one judgment charge, and judgment is the only way to do that when it comes to the melee build. So I think this lends itself a bit more to a caster playstyle, not the entire tree. The entire tree can be played either way, but I'm just saying, in like a raid scenario, if you're in a raid and you bring Lightsmith, you're going to be getting a lot more value out of every infusion of light proc, because you're going to get to proc it with your holy lights, which you're planning on casting anyway, and it's going to reduce the cooldown of your armaments. Avenging Wrath summons an additional armament, sacred weapon, and during Avenging Wrath, your sacred weapon casts spells on your target and then echoes the effects of your holy power spender. So not only do your sacred weapons give the extra damage, that's what they're doing baseline. When you pop wings, all of your sacred weapons cast spells, and then their effects will echo your holy power spender. So if you cast a word of glory on somebody, it will cast, I don't know, a similar spell. I don't really know what it is, because again, this stuff's kind of finicky, but it's going to be very powerful when you pop wings. Now, this is where I was talking earlier about potentially moving into an Avenging Crusader build where it's only a 1 minute cooldown as opposed to a 2 minute cooldown. Now, I don't think you have to do this. I don't think anybody probably will do this. I just want to highlight that this big buff, Blessing of the Forge, you can have double the uptime if you take Avenging Crusader versus Avenging Wrath Might, because that's a 2 minute cooldown versus a 1 minute cooldown. It's literally 100% more uptime as long as you're casting wings on cooldown, of course. Which you're not always doing, but you get what I'm saying. So there's a world where that makes sense, but I don't think it's not like mandatory. I just wanted to bring it up and to talk about it. Imbue your weapon with the power of light, increasing your armor and primary stat, or imbue your weapon, giving you stamina, and then causing your holy power spenders to sometimes unleash a burst of healing. So either one works. It's just a little weapon imbue. I am not sure if this replaces your like other imbues you might want to put on a weapon. I'm not sure about that. That would be a great thing to try and figure out. I need to put this on my bar somewhere. There. So you just do this, put it on your weapon, and then boom. It's called a Rite of Sanctification. It's a Rite, R-I-T-E. It's not like an imbuement. It's not an enchant. It's not, do you see what I'm saying? It has a different word there. So it could be that you can tag this alongside, you know, a sharpening stone or a rune. You could probably put a rune on your weapon still, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see once that actually kind of gets going. Okay, that's cool. Let's keep going. The effects of your auras are increased by 33% on targets with your armament. So that takes your Devo aura from 3% to about 4%. So another 1% DR. It's not the end of the world, but it's cool. For each holy power spender you cast, your next consecration does more damage or healing split across all enemies or allies. So this can actually make your consecration do an enormous amount of extra damage or healing. And I'll show you this in a second, but it is going to split it. So I'm assuming if like your tank is injured or you're injured, it's going to give you healing. I don't know if it's going to overheal you. I don't entirely know. And is that healing going to go into your beacon? I think it will, but these things are hard to sort of know right now. Casting a holy power spender increases the damage or healing of your next Crusader strike. This makes me go back towards the Avenging Crusader build, right? Where if you could have a Crusader strike that did double the damage and double the healing, that is insane. Because like your Crusader strike heals from Avenging Crusader. It heals for 360% of the damage done. What if you can double the damage of it? That's going to heal for way more. Avenging Crusader, or Crusader Strike, sorry, is the main way that you heal people when you're using Avenging Crusader. So I also do want to note for Avenging Crusader, they increased it from a 12-second duration to a 15-second duration, which is actually a lot. That's like a 20% increased duration, or 15 to 20. That's a lot of extra duration you're getting there. So there could be a build here where you're getting this extra damage from Crusader Strike, and that's healing people for way more than it normally does. And then you have a 1 minute cooldown on your wings, which is giving you access to more armaments because of the sacred weapon that's coming out of the Blessing of the Forge. So I don't know. There's like a potential there for this build to kind of work. But I will show you Divine Guidance in a second. This is your PvP stuff. Enemies within 8 yards of your Hammer of Justice are slowed while wielding an armament. The duration of fear effects is reduced by 50%, so that's just PvP stuff. Judgment critical strikes cause a shockwave around the target, dealing an additional 9,400 damage, and then healing at the target location. So this is nice. It's just an extra little crit, a bit of shockwave damage going off, which is nice. You get a guaranteed crit with Awakening, which I realized I didn't take yet. I should switch that. As you build up Awakening, at the 12th stack, your Judgment is guaranteed to crit, right? So it does 30% more damage. It's guaranteed to crit, and then it activates Avenging Crusader. Now, I don't know if this is going to spawn a armament or not. I need to check that right now, so let's just go check that. But this is potentially very, very powerful. It's just going to work together. You're always going to have an Awakening proc coming up, so even if you're not getting lucky with your other crits, you're going to be getting a crit eventually, and that'll proc Hammer and Anvil. Okay, that's how this works. It doesn't look too crazy. Let me just show you what it looks like, though. The Hammer of Wrath. We'll do our wings here. That's going to spawn a sacred weapon. You can see he's right next to me. I don't really know what he's doing. It's kind of hard to tell, honestly. But I should be using Crusader Strike right now. Into this, then Crusader Strike again. And I didn't use it enough, but you get the idea. My Consecration should be doing a bunch of extra damage because we're using Holy Power Spenders. Let me do this. I'm doing the order all wrong, but, you know, it's not a big deal. Where is that buff? Is that showing up here somewhere? Can't really tell, actually. There should be a buff that we're getting our Consecration, yeah. Can't really tell if that's going to happen or not. Let's use a couple more Spenders. We're almost at 12 stacks of Awakening. Okay, we're at our Awakening now. Big Consecration. I can't tell if it's doing extra damage or not, but there it is. And then I would use my... Let's see if we get a hammer from this when I throw my Judgment. Yes, we do get a hammer. So there you go. So even your Awakening proc on wings is going to give you an extra hammer, an extra armament. And again, it's going to proc this whole Blessing of the Forge buff where your sacred weapon will cast spells on your target and it will echo the effects of your Holy Power Spenders. So that's really cool. I still have the sacred weapon up right now. He just disappeared now and then also gave me an infusion proc. So you can see it works really, really well together, especially Awakening with Avenging Crusader. Again, this extra like Crusader Strike buff could be really crazy. I didn't really see if Divine Guidance was showing up as a buff or not. I didn't see it showing up, and it should, I would think. Yeah, it should be showing up there. Excuse me. So I don't know what's going on there, but the point is, it doesn't really matter. These things are cool. I didn't even spawn any armaments during the battle there. I just wanted to show you how the other talents kind of work together. But that's it. You spawn these armaments. They're going to heal people. They're going to give other people damage. It's going to look really cool having them there. And they're going to be turbo buffed during your Avenging Wrath. Does that mean you want to take Avenging Crusader? I don't know. There is synergy here for it. It could work. This is a talent that has traditionally just not really been chosen. We'll have to wait and see what people decide and where the kind of throughput lies. It might be fine just to have a 2-minute wings and to get the proc then. Okay, let's switch over to Herald of the Sun. Let's talk about this. Herald of the Sun has to do with these dawn lights that you're going to be putting on people. And it also centers around your Avenging Wrath once again, but also around either taking Holy Prism or Barrier of Faith. Now, this is really cool. Something caught in my throat. It was killing me. There is either an offensive option here in Holy Prism or a defensive option in Barrier of Faith. Okay, this is what you get to choose. You can do whatever you want. Barrier of Faith is actually a fantastic ability. It's actually really, really strong defensively. Holy Prism is actually quite strong offensively, especially in a Mythic Plus environment. You can do extra damage with it. Holy Prism is not going to have any of the tier set bonuses that it has right now that we have in Dragonflight. So if you're thinking to yourself, well, Holy Prism's the obvious choice, then, you know, I would just hold you right there because it's not necessarily going to be the obvious choice. Sorry, I just had to clear my throat there. There was just something going on. Again, I just want to say, I don't think Holy Prism is like the obvious choice here. Barrier of Faith is a very strong defensive cooldown. Again, it's a shield that goes on somebody, and then it accumulates your effective Holy Shock healing, which is like, again, Divine Toll will proc this, and it will accumulate a bunch of that and then turn it into an even bigger shield. So I think there's a very real choice here. And this is what you're going to do with your Dawn Lights. Casting Holy Prism or Barrier causes your next 2 holy power spending abilities to apply Dawn Light to your target, dealing radiant damage, and then or healing over time. So this whole tree is really focused on healing over time or damage over time. There are multiple additional hots that you're going to get or dots that you're going to get. And as a paladin, that's pretty cool because that's kind of a new thing for us. Yes, we have like extra healing that we get from glimmers and sort of periodic healing and then beacon, but we don't really have any true like heal over time spells except for Tear of Deliverance. So we're going to get additional hots here, which might help us to sort of settle into an HPS class, an HPS healer, a healer that does a bunch of stuff and it slowly continues to build health bars over time, as opposed to like a pure burst healer that's only interested in those big moments, and if you kind of mess it up, then everybody's dead. So I kind of like the direction they're going with this. Oh, also the last tag is really important. 10% of Dawn Light's damage and healing radiates to nearby allies or enemies reduced beyond 5. So you get extra damage and healing there, which is great. Word of Glory gets replaced with Eternal Flame. This does the same amount of healing as Word of Glory does now. It just adds a hot on top of it. So you get 30. It's the exact same healing as Word of Glory would do. You just get an additional hot as well. So it's just straight throughput. It's just better. While Dawn Light is active, your holy power spending abilities deal 10% additional damage or healing. Every 5 seconds, your next Dawn Light's damage or healing is increased. You can buff the actual big application of the Dawn Light, which is super cool. Critical strike chance of Holy Shock and Light of Dawn up by 10%. That's outrageous when you think about the fact that the critical strike chance of Holy Shock is already up by 8%. Now you have 18% more Holy Shock critical strike chance. And I already have 35% crit right now. So like that's 45, 53, 52, 53% Holy Shock. And Light of Dawn is at 45. So just awesome to get that. Of course, critting with Holy Shock is essential to the entire package for Holy Paladin. That's kind of, you get your infusion procs, and it's really, really solid. So love that. Holy Shock and Light of Dawn critical strikes, there you go, good synergy here, cause the target to be healed for an additional 7,700 over 4 seconds. So again, more hot synergy, sorry. And again, you're going to be getting crits all the time. Imagine a Divine Toll critting everybody and then putting this hot on them, and then all this hot healing going into your beacons. I mean, you can just see how it starts to get out of control, right? Here's a choice note here in the middle, Blessing of Anshi. Your damage and healing over time effects have a chance to increase the healing or damage of your next Holy Shock by 200%. That's pretty cool. So again, just a big Holy Shock to really smack somebody, and it's likely to crit, so you're going to get that double dip there. Or Lingering Radiance, Dawn Light leaves an eternal flame for 12 seconds on allies or a greater judgment on enemies when it expires or is extended. So this is really powerful to me in my mind. Greater judgment for Holy Paladin puts a prevention sort of bubble on an enemy. So that means that you can it's going to block a bunch of damage. This equals a lot of healing over the course of like a Mythic Plus dungeon or even a raid. I promise you, like when I'm doing dungeons on my Holy Paladin, it's like my top 3, top 4 heal is going to be Greater Judgment. So the fact that you can get a whole bunch of Greater Judgments from your Dawn Light seems really broken to me. I think this would be a really important one to take. This is some utility here. Dawn Light reduces the movement speed of enemies by 50% and increases the movement speed of allies by 20%. Or you just get flat movement speed when you're above 80% health, and then when you're brought low, you get a boost of movement speed as well. So I really like Illumine, where you get to increase the movement speed of allies. I think, again, this whole support idea, Paladin really being able to support people like the Lightsmith tree, giving shields and damage. This one's going to give movement speed. I love that kind of stuff. It's really, really good. After you cast Holy Prism or Barrier, you immediately get Divine Purpose. That makes your next Holy Power spender free and then do more damage or healing. This combos with the Dawn Light really well because when you press Prism or Barrier, your next 2 Holy Power spenders will automatically trigger a Dawn Light. So you get one for free right away. You can press one right away, get that Dawn Light going, and then you'll likely have some Holy Power built up. You can just press the second one right away and get the Dawn Lights going just right out of the bat. So that's nice quality of life. Haste is increased by 4% for 12 seconds each time you apply Dawn Light, so you can get a really good haste bonus going. This is great early in an expansion when stats tend to be a little bit lower. So this is awesome. I really like this extra haste boost. This might be one of the biggest talents in this whole tree. Light of Dawn and Holy Shock have a 15% chance to cast again. If Holy Shock casts again, then it will generate holy power again, and it will trigger your glimmers again. That is an incredibly powerful effect. Getting your glimmers to proc again and get the extra holy power, it's just like really crazy. When Light of Dawn goes again, it has a chance to trigger Divine Purpose, of course, down here. So that could be awesome. And then you get a bunch of extra healing from it as well, of course. So very, very good talent there, Second Sunrise. And then Sun's Avatar. During Avenging Wrath, you become linked to your Dawn Lights, causing beams, basically, to radiate. They pass through enemies and allies. Activating Avenging Wrath will apply 4 Dawn Lights nearby allies or enemies and increase Dawn Lights duration, by 25%. So that's really nice. So you get a bunch of Dawn Lights out, and then you pop wings, and you extend them. That's how you kind of want to do it, I think. So I think the cadence is going to be using your Holy Prism, and then you want to consume those Dawn Lights, and then you want to press wings and go from there. Let's just see how it looks here. Okay. This going, we'll do like this. This, let's do Holy Prism. I'm going to do Shield of the Righteous, okay. Then we're doing this Shield of the Righteous. There we go. We got a bunch of Dawn Lights. You can see I'm connected to a bunch of them, and I'm scorching everything, which is really cool. It's connected to an ally over there. I don't know how much control you really have over this, but the bottom line is this is an enormous amount of damage that you can actually end up contributing, which is awesome. I love that. I love having more damage as a healer. I think that's a really fun mechanic. I know some of you guys don't care about that. It's also a whole lot of healing. Don't worry. Here's your Word of Glory or Eternal Flame. Boom. You can see I have an Eternal Flame hot on me. Is it up there? No, that's my Solar Grace. There it is, 24 seconds. So healing me over time. Again, this is also going into my beacon. It's hard to quantify that here on the dummies, but it really is. Here we go. I'm going to get my second proc of wings. I'll get my Dawn Lights going. Wait, let me cast Prism first for a second here. And then we'll do a Spender. And then we'll do this and do another Spender. And then we're going to throw this. And now we're connected to our... There we go. We can apply more Dawn Lights. It does say right now that it's supposed to send out 4 when you proc wings or activate wings. It's supposed to give you 4 Dawn Lights. It has not been doing that, neither for Rep Paladin or Prop Paladin. Sorry, not for Rep Paladin or for Holy Paladin. So I'm not really sure what's going on there, but I'm going to send a bug report and hopefully they can get it fixed. But yeah, I think this all works really well together to produce a ton of damage and a ton of healing. It looks really cool. You do feel like sort of an Avatar of the Sun type thing. It looks really, really cool. And I think it's just got lots of great synergy here. You can choose an offensive spell or a defensive spell as your activator, whatever you want to be doing there. It doesn't really matter. And then you get access right now to a whole bunch of HOTS, which is awesome. That's going to really increase your consistent healing all the time, as opposed to just having big spot healing on allies that's going into like a beacon. You'll have consistent healing kind of keeping people going all the time, which I think is really nice. It can help to shore up a potential weakness that Holy Pally can sometimes struggle with, which is that consistent rot damage over time. So love that. Love this tree. I think Lightsmith is really good too. A bit more supportive, but you can give lots of shields and damage to your allies. There's going to be armaments flying everywhere. With both of these trees, I think you might want to have a very serious consideration about what you want to do for your Avenging Wrath versus, Crusader versus Might. I think there's a case to be made for both of them. So that's my thoughts there on the 2 trees. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you so much again for watching. Love you guys. I will see you in the next one.